What's up, everybody? Mike McConical, Joel Shaw, Athletor Podcast. Today we are joined by Cayden Henschel. And man, first of all, Cayden, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. First things first, man. I don't know if you know much about the podcast, but what we try our best to do is identify and dissect the processes of successful people in all realms of the sport. That said, there are people that find success in the sport through winning gold medals. There are people that find success in this sport from, coaching. You have found success in this sport through a different avenue. And that's
Sure, yes, sir.
And it's cool. That's super. It's exciting. That's really exciting. Can you talk a little bit about the process that brought you to wrestling media?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a big consumer of like content on YouTube, and I love watching YouTubers just create videos, whether that be, trick shots or people doing crazy challenges, whatever. So this is probably, all the way through middle school and early high school, probably my freshman year. And I was like, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if I would kind of bring the wrestling into kind of videos? And at the time, there was maybe 3 guys on YouTube doing wrestling, and none of them do it now anymore, but it was just very, very lax, nothing crazy. And I was like, you know what if I just vlog like maybe, let's say, a dual meet or a tournament of wrestling? And eventually that grew and grew and grew. And throughout high school, gained a following, did just so much research just on, what makes a good video, what makes people watch, stick around. And now I've grown up to here. I'm in my just ended my 3rd year of college at UW Parkside, and just continue making videos about wrestling. That's where we are now.
Dude, it's so exciting. Like, so did you catch any shit from your teammates about it? Like, you had to, right?
You'd think, but it's actually quite the opposite. So in high school, the person who motivated me to kind of make a YouTube channel was Crosby. Now he's actually my roommate in college, for the past couple of years, and he followed me here to Parkside, and he had this YouTube channel and he did like trick shots on whatever. And I told him about it, and he was all down for it. And then I start vlogging it. He starts vlogging more wrestling. Then next thing you know, my brother has a camera. So there's points at practice in high school where we have 3 cameras just time lapsing the practice. Like, it was just something I don't know. It was just so weird. But everyone on the team at high school was so cool with it. The only people who would talk crap about it would, be those people in high school, like those older kids. Like, I'm a freshman, sophomore, like making YouTube videos. Like, no one's doing that. And so it's just kind of like, mocking my intros and stuff, whatever it was back then. But everyone on the wrestling team at the high school really loved it. And I appreciate that so much.
No, I've never know anything about people mocking the intros. So tell me about your first experience with negative comments in the comment section.
Ooh, the first experience. Negative comments, of course, always hit harder than like you get 100 great comments. Like, that's great. That's awesome. But if you get one person saying like, dude, you suck at wrestling, like, why are you doing this? Like, no one wants to see this. It's like, it hurts. It hurts and it stings. Of course, you get better over time. But that was one thing I was like, wait, what if I just should I just delete this? And do I just make like a snippy response back? Ultimately, now I don't just respond at all because there's no point in fueling the fire. But I think for my first experiences, I definitely snipped back a little bit and just was, giving them the backhand a little bit.
How do you think that, content creators like you are going to be like faring into the future with NIL deals and things like that starting to come into play? Do you see that this market will start to become more saturated with other content creators like you?
I don't think so. There is not enough wrestling, personalities. I talk with so many people, and, especially Gable, when we went and did a podcast and did a video with him, and he was saying that the reason wrestling isn't bigger and, why maybe it never will be is because the storylines are so hard to follow. when you got people making videos about, you know, their day to day and year to year, like they're consistently doing it, like people care. You got to have people wanting to care. That's why people care about the WWE, because they love the storylines. That's why people care about the NFL. They love like that whole aspect. The NBA, same thing. In wrestling, of course it's very on a lower scale, but I think creating better stories and doing media and just being like a real person, being relatable, I think that's could be huge for wrestling, and I don't see it being saturated at all.
So how do we in wrestling media tell better stories? How should, you know, it's tough, man.
Yes.
It's tough.
Yes.
I did it for a long time at Flow, and I was met with, because there is, so just to give you like a small bit of backstory for me, I started a blog. Like this is like 2008, and it was only centered around like, look, there are incredible stories in this sport that I just don't want to die. I want them to live somewhere on the internet. And that blog turned into a podcast, and that podcast turned into a video series, and that video series turned into a job at Flow Wrestling, and then all this stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, we got to do a way better job of storytelling, because there's incredible stories in the sport.
Sure.
How do we do it? Because it seems like it's just so scattered right now. They're just kind of thrown everywhere.
See, that's the hardest thing. There really isn't no one cut and dry answer. There's multiple ways to skin a cat here. I think one thing that people could do is to take more a personal approach about it. And for this, I think a big thing that differentiates me is that I am actually talking with people. I don't see, think of any wrestler like who talks, to the camera that it's like, I don't know. I'm just gonna say like RBY. For him, like, yeah, he does the documentaries. You can hear him through that. But other than that, it was like, I didn't even know what he sounded like. What about like, Tomasello? Like, wait, I don't know what he sounds like. So all these people, and of course, I think the, there's companies, of course, that do just like interview and you hear their voice through that, but almost taking more personal approach with them doing it on themselves, like taking it on the wrestlers to do that themselves. I think that's a huge thing. But that's just one. That's one way, but it's of course it's challenging, like you said. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Have you gotten any sort of pushback or negative kind of critiques from coaches or anything along the way? Of I think in the past when you think about athletics, coaches are always like, focus on the sport, on your process. Have you gotten any sort of pushback, from your high school or college coaches on like, hey, you need to focus more on wrestling and less on shooting videos in practice?
I always thought I would, but I really didn't. Now in high school, my dad was the coach. So, I mean, he was kind of cool with it. Of course, there's like a limit. There's a happy medium on how much you should really be incorporating talking to the camera during practice. I don't really talk to the camera during practices. I just literally just set it up in the corner. And if I do that way, after practice, it's fair game, whatever. I think that the thing that I'm still struggling with is at tournaments. Now that this got really challenging in college, because when in high school, I love recording everyone's matches, just getting the highlights and whatever. And maybe I was good enough at high school where I really didn't need to, take care of maybe my pre-match warm-up routine as much. But now it's in college. It's like, you have to be on the ball. And so it got really challenging for that first tournament in college where I was like, dude, I should really be focusing on doing well and not just stressed about filming, making sure I get the shot. And thankfully I've gotten, some teammates, whether, if they're not competing that day, they can record, and they've just been so helpful with that. I'm so appreciative of those guys. And, but no, I had from the coach's perspective, they really haven't talked to me much about it at all. Yeah, I really do wonder really if they do have something to say, they just haven't said it yet.
Why do you think they haven't? So what gives you the feeling of like, like, hey man, this guy probably doesn't love that I have the camera when I'm supposed to be skipping rope or throwing for a warm-up? What gives you that feeling?
What gives me the feeling like I should record it? Is that what you're saying?
No. What gives you a feeling that your coach might not be all on board with?
Okay. Well, I would just say this one circumstance. It was recent. So earlier in April, we had the opportunity where Gable said that, he was free for a week, and he'd go invite us up there to his house and we'd film if we were down. And we're like, well, we have to do this. Like, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? And so this was when the season was over, but we still had some practices here and there that, coach ran practices. And we asked him, we were like, hey, would it be cool if we just practice a day before instead? And we missed this day because we'd be traveling for this, and he said it was cool. Yes, but he said, don't make it happen again. So even if it's I don't know, that was just a weird situation for us. And that was one I can think of off the top of my head, where it's I love making videos. And I think if I travel, I'm sure that's aiding my wrestling as well, talking with these elite athletes and even scrapping with them. I don't think missing, even though we're going to make it up off-season practice in that way, but.
It's tricky, man. It's tricky because here's the thing. A lot of the coaches that are at the NCAA level right now, whether it be Division 1, 2, 3, AIA, JUCO, a lot of them are my age and older. Okay, I'm 45 years old. I think I'll be 45 soon. You get the point. I'm old. Okay. The point that I'm trying to make is, I don't think that all of them, some of them, but I don't think that all of them understand the monetary value and the viability of career choices that become the avenue of YouTuber, right? Because you kind of hear YouTuber and you're like, right? And you just immediately Gen Z, super whatever, right? And there's these flags and these boxes that are checked in your head, but there's no way as a human being, if you actually look into it, to dismiss the importance in society and also the importance to the person's wallet, right? How this is how this can affect the person, right? So it's a coach. I have not come across someone like you, Cayden, right, who has said to me, hey man, I'm gonna take off from practice today to go shoot with Gable Stevenson, and he's gonna allow me into his home and into his wrestling room, and I'm going to film the heck out of it, and I'm gonna market the heck out of it, and that seems like it's worth a practice to me. but some people might not agree. I mean, I don't know. So what would you say to the old school kind of hidden under a rock type coach that's out there that might give a YouTube creator some shit for taking a day off practice to go film with Gable?
Well, listen, like I said, I didn't want to just skip a practice just to skip a practice. I still made that up. We did it the day before. I think training is important. Of course it is. Competition is important. You need to know your goals. Of course, that coach has his own goals. He wants your team to be team champs. He wants you as an individual to be a champ, because for him, that's good publicity for him. Everyone has their own way that they want to accomplish things. And I think, especially at the college level, it's everyone is their own person now. We're grown ups. We can make our own decisions. And if we really take a step back and be like, wait, hold on, you're telling me over 100,000 people are going to be interested in what you're doing. I think especially in the wrestling community, that's a good number. That's whoa, you could actually make an imprint, make an impact on. You can encourage, you can influence, you can motivate them. And for me, I just get chills talking about that, because every time I go to whether it be just some random practice at with kids there and tournaments and duels, and it's kids coming up and asking for pictures. It's wait, why do you want a picture with me? I'm a D2 wrestler, never All-American, but you want a picture with me, other than vice versa. It's because they care for what you can instill in them, online. Of course it's online, maybe it's not in person, but guess what? This is how the world is going right now. And for me to make that content, whether that to be to educate, inspire, and motivate, is huge.
How do you balance? I mean, obviously, like we've talked a lot about media, but you're also, a college wrestler. That has demands. You're also
Mhm.
a student, which obviously takes time as well. How do you kind of balance all of these interests and kind of responsibilities and make sure that you're kind of staying on top of all the things you need to stay on top of?
That's hard. And I think about this, like how is it I'm able to do it? I think okay, people say how you should layer your of what you want to do. You got school, you got wrestling, and then you got like other, right? I love YouTube. I always want to do it. I always have that, of course, on the forefront of my mind in wrestling. And for the longest time in high school, I didn't know if I was actually going to go to college, let alone wrestle in college. And so then I really took a step back and was like, I want to take this career path as a YouTuber. And by doing that, I can't sit back and just do this, like half-ass. Like you have to be in it like every single day. You have to show up. It's consistency. It's the same thing, whatever you want to do. If you want to be good at it, you have to do it every day. You got to be thinking about it. You got to be just empowered by it every single day. And I think it's being obsessed with it and being like, okay, I know I have to get good grades to do this. In order for me to wrestle, I need good grades. In order for me to maybe pull views on YouTube, I have to be able to get good grades to wrestle well, to make a great video. So that's been in my head a lot, where it's like, dude, the better I get at wrestling, the more people are going to watch. It's like, ooh, that's a good factor there. But I mean, it's interesting, but you got to want to do it.
Well, all right. So you said you weren't sure if you were going to wrestle in college, let alone go to college. What was the thing that kind of tipped the decision-making scale towards going to college and wrestling in college?
So I practiced through Askren Wrestling Academy. I still go there, a couple times here and there, probably more in the summer. But at the time in high school, training with Askren, and so Max was my coach. And he's like, after practice, he's like, hey, Cayden, what are your plans? Like after high school, like where are you going to wrestle in college? I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And over time, he really just made me think like, all my life, like I just known wrestling, and I couldn't think about like not doing it. And the videos I already were making were about wrestling. And I know how hard it is to make that change from one niche to another. It would be way harder. And like, I love wrestling. And I was like, do I do this? Like there's no one that I could look to copy what I'm doing. And that's the hardest part about my certain circumstance. And I was like, I think I should do this because, no one, my brother went to college and my parents went to college. My grandparents were all like, dude, like you got to go to college. What are you going to do? And I was like, okay, maybe this will work out. Go to college, wrestle there, have that experience, and I'll do YouTube with that. And that was, I guess, what made my switch. And Parkside was close to home, only about an hour away. I knew some guys on the team, and now we're here.
What was that recruiting process like of, trying to figure out where you're going to go to school, going on recruiting trips? I think for a lot of people, we hear about, what the recruiting process is for, very highly touted recruits, but
Sure.
Maybe it's a little bit different for somebody who isn't necessarily, like a multiple time, Fargo champion and whatnot. What was that process like? And how did you kind of decide that like, hey, D2 is going to be right for me?
Yeah, it was a completely different process. I'll say this. I went on one visit and the coach didn't ask me to go on a visit. I asked the coach to go on the visit. There were some, D3 schools, recruiting me. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to go D3, mainly because it was like, I didn't want to pay so much for college with how expensive that was at the time. And it was just like, I don't really know much people on the teams. And I knew at Parkside, I knew there were some guys in my recruiting class who I knew. And I was like, it's only an hour away. My dad went there for 2 years, actually. And I'm like, all right, let me shoot this coach an email. And eventually we set up a date, toured it. And that was just it. Like, it was just really like, okay, I think I should go to college. This school looks all right. Boom. Kind of you're in like that. So it's super quick, but I mean, it all worked out right now.
Do you think that should be more of a like D2, D3, junior college? there's a especially like NAIA. There are NAIA schools that have upwards of 25 scholarships, full scholarships. Do you think that should be a more viable option for high level wrestlers coming out of high school?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I know it would be nice if Parkside could have some more scholarship money because we don't have a lot at all. Whether that be like I don't know how that whole fundraising process goes. But I do think that we should, get more just scholarship money in that way. Because still, I'm paying a lot for college as it is already, and it's like maybe I have something, but it's not like crazy.
When you were getting recruited, did your coaches know about your vlogging background or anything?
So I have a different coach now than who recruited me or who I went to, and we did talk about it a little bit. The only thing he really said about it was that he thinks there's something there, which yes, I already knew there was something there, but it's hard to show other people the vision that you have unless you can actually, put into fruition. But it wasn't really, talked about. Of course, some guys in the team knew about it, but they didn't really know what was I going to do, what all entails with it. It was all new.
When did you know that there was something there?
When did I? Well, I always knew YouTubers that it was their job to make YouTube videos. And I knew that the people who subscribed to them, they'd go crazy they'd want pictures. They go crazy if they comment back to someone. And I was like, not that I was I guess fame hungry or popularity hungry. I knew it was going to come with it. And I knew because I love making videos. I literally self-taught myself how to edit every single day for the summer. When I was 15 years old, I spent 5 hours on an outdated Power Director just trying to figure it out. But eventually when kids started to come up to me and just take pictures of, what was that? It says preseason nationals or something. And they were like, yo, you Cayden Henschel? I was like, yeah. And they were wanted pictures, and they would just keep coming and keep coming. I'm like, whoa, this could be something people actually care. For me, I wasn't the craziest wrestler. I didn't never place that Fargo, was, one state once in Wisconsin, but it was not I was this crazy wrestler winning all these tournaments and people want to take a pic because you're good, but they take a pic with you and they watch you because they appreciate what you're doing. They almost just like you, as a human, I guess, in that way.
That's interesting, man. So for me, I did some similar stuff. I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself how to shoot. But a lot of the things that I learned were directly attributed to the way that I went about training and wrestling. It was
Okay.
We're going to go headlong into this thing and we're going to figure it out. Was that a similar case for you? Tell me about the process that you put yourself through to learn how to be a YouTuber. What did you tackle first?
The first thing I tackled was, I'd say, knowing what people want to watch. Because for a lot of the time on my first videos, so this is the current channel I have now is my second channel. I had a first channel that was, deleted. It had 80 videos on, some random videos, but a lot of them wrestling. Don't know why it got deleted. That's a whole nother conversation. But the first thing I tackled was, what do people want to watch? And from there, it was okay, now how do because I didn't want to show the whole wrestling match. I was like, okay, people like takedowns. I like watching takedowns. I like watching points scored. I like watching people get thrown. And I was like, okay, but what if there's music behind it? Then I had to figure out, okay, how do I get music on this video? And it's wait, what if they copyright me? Because no one knew what copyright struck me. And it was kind of weird, but figured out, okay, how should I export a video? There's so many things, how do I make a thumbnail? All these things. It's I don't even know if I could remember everything because now it just comes so naturally. But at the time, it was just, I was so hungry to learn and to actually have a good product at the end of the day. I'd export that video, I'd sit back, I'd watch it, and I'd be happy. I wanted to be a fan of the content that I was creating. And I strive to still be a consumer of what I'm creating.
What's a typical day in the life look like for you? Maybe in season where you're balancing school and wrestling practice, maybe competition, weight management. And then on top of that, trying to create videos where, like you said, it's not just a simple like, oh, let me get my cell phone out and record for 10 minutes and it's done. Like there's several other steps that go into this. What does a typical day or typical week look like for you?
Yeah, I'd say if we have lift in the morning, we're getting up, right before 7, hitting a lift, going to breakfast. I really don't record lifts at all just because I don't know. I just never did. But had breakfast. I go back. From this time is where I do my most school, I think, between like 9 and like 11:30. And so for me, I'm all online classes. I chose to do that just because I can spend all my time, whether that's in my dorm room if I'm editing or if I just want to get an extra practice here and there. I have that leeway, I have that free choice of what to do. From there, I do my school for about maybe 2.5 hours. At this point, because online school is so much easier than in person, I can do everything on my own speed. I just do a quiz. I just bust out. It's not like, I almost don't feel like I'm in school. Like, my roommate Crosby doesn't even think like I'm enrolled in school. Like it's just, I don't know. You just feel like you just do it at this point. And once I get that all done, I try to get all my work done from the week, like Monday or Tuesday. And then I just have all of my time to do whatever I want. From there, I think of like, okay, what would be maybe a good video to post? Maybe if I'm thinking about doing like, okay, what's my practice like? So I was like, all right, get everything charged, cameras charged, tripods ready, and go to practice, play wall ball game, set up the camera, just click record, wrestle, maybe come when we have water break, talk to the camera, say what's going on, how I'm feeling during the day, finish up practice, maybe do some pull-ups, climb the rope, say a couple motivational things about what I'm feeling, go back, edit it, see how long that takes, upload it. And that gives me some time to, hang out at night and do some things, but that's pretty much it. It's a busy day of purpose, I guess.
That's a busy day for sure. It's interesting to me, man. I'm so fascinated, and this is one of the reasons that Joel and I started the process. Started this podcast is to dive into the processes. What frustrated, what hurdle about the content creation, what hurdle kind of tripped you up the most, right? So for me, it was always storytelling through video. Like I can cut up an interview, but that's easy. Like storytelling and having an arc of story through video is, well, there's a little bit more art to that. That's not as dry, right? So where was your hurdle when you started to edit and put together these videos?
I guess for me, my biggest hurdle was if I go wake up for a wrestling tournament, let's say it's a wrestling tournament video, I don't know how I'm going to do. It either is going to go well and I'm going to be happy with the trophy. I'm going to say my work paid off. But if it didn't and I lose, it's going to be like, okay, like now I have this whole nother path of how the video is going to go. And I don't know at the beginning of the day, how's it going to go? It's really all on the fly. That's like a lot about how, I make my content. It's almost just everything it's up in the air. It's how I do in wrestling. Of course, I strive to do my best. I put in the work. I want to do the best, but if something bad happens, lose the match, whatever it may be, I'm there to document. I focus on trying to like document and don't create something that's not there. Don't create like a false narrative and really document about what is actually happening. And I think people appreciate that because, I get comments saying like, that's really humble of you to, post your losses and stuff. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I post my losses? But now I get it. It's like a big thing. And people like post a loss and be like,
you don't have to.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think people love that realness. People want that relatability because it's relatable. Not everyone is undefeated their whole lives of doing this thing. As much as I'm a regular person, like I'm just a regular person.
How do you deal with pressure? Obviously having a successful, YouTube channel and following and people are watching you for your content, like it does, I imagine, creates a sense of pressure around like, hey, you got to go out there and compete and like live up to, the hype that you're creating. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
So here's the thing too. And this wasn't a big deal in high school, but it's a big deal in college now. because I want this, to be my career path and my job. Like, I don't work another job. It's just all media. And so, of course, in season with YouTube and how the views are going, it's like, I know that that's when I'm going to get, the biggest paycheck in that way. And, this needs to be said because it's like what I actually think. If I know that I'm going to do better at a tournament or in a duel, I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to make more money. And so as much as I don't want money as a motivating factor, it just has to be, because it's like, how am I going to make myself a living if I can't win this match? So I put a lot of pressure on myself in that way. I think of just like just win. And maybe of course that's maybe not the way to go, and it's tough, but sometimes I even think about when I'm in a match and I'm picturing the video already made and just picturing me like winning that match and hand raised, whether I'm like pointing at the crowd, I don't know, whatever I'm doing. Maybe I need a little more showmanship. Everyone can get better at that, but I'm just thinking, what would be the coolest thing to see on video right now? And I'd maybe try to do something in the match. I think that would help.
That is an interesting wrinkle, Cayden.
Yeah.
That I can't imagine many other athletes across the sport have to deal with.
Yeah.
That's really, really interesting, man, because like you're thinking about this stuff mid-match, like.
Yeah. No, like if some of the guys riding me, I'm on my stomach. I'm like, bro, like, I'm not going to pay the bill this month.
Does that become
a better video?
This video's gonna suck. Gosh.
Does that become like a negative motivation or more of a positive motivation?
Honestly, I think I've made it myself now where I'm at a good spot 3 years in, where it's like it's positive for me. It is definitely positive for me, because at the end of the day, especially on YouTube, a lot people love like drama. So like when you look at, one of the recent videos that did well for me in season was when like I had some people chirping me and I called it, haters come to my wrestling match. People want to see like, whoa, like what did they say? People like that, other than maybe if you like won this tournament, whatever, because it's just a storyline. People like that storyline. So, but ultimately I think I'm getting better at like making better titles in that way. And people want to, I think that's been helping.
So let's talk about the hardware. What are you using to shoot with?
Yeah. Oh, should I get my camera bag out?
Do it.
Well, here, this is one thing we filmed. What did I film? I just filmed a recent video where we did like giveaway challenge. This was like a gimbal. It's a Ronin S3. I'm thinking about maybe bringing this to some tournaments. Just helps stay steady and whatnot. So I like that. The camera, my go-to camera is this is the A7S III. So this was like, I mean, of course this price setup right here is probably close to like $4,500. So that was a lot in that way. And the lens, I'm really getting big into lenses now, and prime lenses. So these aren't the lenses that I'll show you an example that have like the zoom. Like this is the zoom.
Hold on. Tell people that don't know what you're talking, because I get geeked out about this stuff too. But like, I know what a prime lens is.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So this is a zoom lens, and that you can zoom in. But a prime lens is where it stays steady at the same length. So if someone moves farther away, they're going to be farther away. You can't zoom in on them. So with that prime lens, though, it makes it like clear. It gets that nice blur in the back that people like to see. So that was a big thing. But recently I started, this podcast, and I also got an A7 IV right here. If people want to hear my lens, this is the 85mm f1.8. And then I also have an A7 III that we also have, but all different cameras. But I think something's wrong with this one. I bought it on eBay. I think they scammed me. But I also did get scammed on another camera because they, that's a whole situation. But it's
pretty awesome.
Tough.
Hey, real quick, man, because we're running out of time.
Sure.
You like very casually brought up probably about $12,000 worth of equipment. It's pretty casual.
Yeah.
what would you say to a young buck that doesn't have the following that you do but wants to? What would you tell them to do in the way of hardware? Like, just turn your iPhone around, or like, what would you tell them to do?
Yes, okay. Right now, at this point, I think the iPhone is pretty comparable to my first camera. The first camera I ever used was the Canon G7X Mark II. So I think at the time it was like $600. It has a nice flip out screen. That was the biggest thing because you got to see what you're recording. I didn't want that. So flip out screen was huge. From there, like, of course, people are like, dude, how am I going to pay $700 for a camera? Like, as a kid, what I did, I mowed lawns. I worked as a mason. Like, there's things you can do. And even kids are emailing me like, I don't even have like a phone. I'm like, oh, like, you're gonna have to work for a phone. Like, some people don't know, like, you got to just start working early. I think that was a big thing. I think I loved having that business mindset. Like, I knew that I had to make money, but just a phone is fine. There's apps on your phone. There's Video Shop. But the only thing is, like, you have to be obsessed about it because it's boring. If you don't like it, it's boring, it's long, it's hard, but you have to want to do it. If you have a vision of what you want to create, you can create it, but it's going to take time, and you have to be okay with no gain, and you have to be okay with a lot of loss. So you just have to want to do it because you want to do it.
That's what people don't tell you. That's what people don't tell you. It's wholly boring.
Yes.
Like, sitting in front of that screen editing for hours, and then like finding the right transition to the music. Man.
Sure.
It's freaking wholly boring sometimes. And if you don't love this stuff, man, good luck.
And that's what I was saying with consistency before. You have to be able to do this for years on years on years, or else you're not going to have that success. A lot of people stop just before they're about to hit that gold, but like, you have to be okay with, taking those early L's so you can have that long lasting success.
Real quick on hardware, any mics or lighting or anything else that you've got in that gear bag as well?
Yes. So, I mean, I have a GoPro. I've used this just a little bit. Like, if I'm traveling, this helps. But also, Video Mic Pro. This is kind of a mic I like to use when I'm like out in tournaments and whatever. But this mic right here looks like you got it too. The Shure SM7B, best mic, I think. These are awesome. So these I filmed in the Spencer Lee video. These are the Rode Wireless Go's. They're super small and they just like clip on wherever you want. And I think they're about $200, so not really expensive at all. And I think gear is so cool. But
I get so geeked out with it. My wife's like, you're like a kid with toys, you know that. I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't care. Like, shut up.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And like a light, just like a ring light. That's like kind of all I use.
Is it really? Did you learn?
Yeah.
Did you take steps to learn lighting or anything like that?
No, I really don't know much about lighting at all. Like, I have like a couple lights because I know, like, you see that thing right there. I try to have like some light in the background of stuff, and my room's so messy. I just moved back like the other day from college, so but I'm working on cooler lighting setups.
All right. So Cayden Henschel, is he a wrestler who's a vlogger or a vlogger who wrestles?
See, that's the hardest thing. I've thought about this so much too. I don't want to turn any heads to like the wrong way, but I would say I'm a YouTuber before I'm a wrestler now.
It's great. That's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
No, it's great. Like, it's wonderful. Because, like, here's the thing. What people don't like, because we have this affinity towards, like, I'm a wrestler first. Well, congratulations. You've got deformed ears and you're 45 years old. Guess what, bud? Like, this ear doesn't get me paid ever. But doing what you love to do in both aspects, man, that is a super admirable thing. Truly super admirable.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I'm psyched that you get to lead this crop of young, motivated people through the sport. So thank you, man. Seriously, thank you. It's pretty amazing
Thank you.
what you're doing.
Sure. Absolutely. It means a lot. This was fun.
Anything else?
Where can everyone find you? I'm sure that most people know who you are by now, but for those who don't, where can they find you?
Sure. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, just my name, Cayden Henschel. That's all it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother. We really appreciate you coming on and lending, or at least shedding some light on some of this stuff. Has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but absolutely. Thank you guys so much. This has been so fun.